My name is Alex. I'm 4 years old. I love to learn almost as much as I love to play. When I grow up, I want to build houses like my daddy, so I need to be smart. I'm learning a lot in preschool to get ready to be an engineer like him. I live in Gary, Indiana with my mommy and daddy. Next year, I'll be going to school with the big kids. But I heard mommy and daddy talking. I don't know if I'll be going to a Gary public school. Mommy and daddy said that there are some good things about Gary schools, but there are some not so good things too. My friends on the baseball team and at church go to school in Gary. It would be fun to go to school with them. I hope I can. Mommy told me that Gary was founded in 1906. That's a long time ago, before I was even born. Just 8 years later, the city had grown from 300 people to over 30,000. I can't even count up that high, yet. People called immigrants came from faraway places like Poland, Ireland, and Hungary to live in Gary. Many of the men worked in places called steel mills, where metal is made for cars and machines. These families needed places to live, and their kids needed places to learn. Gary's first school was built in 1907 by the Gary Land Company. It was named after Thomas Jefferson. Classes focused on helping immigrant kids learn how to live in the city. William Wirt was the city's first school leader, called a superintendent. Wow, that's a big word. But he had a big job to make sure that there were classes for every subject, teachers for every class, and that kids had what they needed to learn. Wirt was hired in 1907. Back then, only certain people had a good education. You had to be a lawyer, doctor, minister, banker, or rich person. But William Wirt believed that every kid should get a good education. Wirt had a new creative approach to education called the work-study-play system. He wanted to educate the whole child. Under this new program, kids learned reading, writing, math, and science during one part of the day. During another part of the day, they learned more practical things like public speaking, music, and banking. The third part of the program included exercise and recreation, painting, running, playing, and jumping. That's right up my alley. To build this new public school system meant getting help from politicians, school leaders, rich people, local businessmen, and parents. Classes were based on one simple rule: learning by doing. So kids learned by practicing different things in different ways. School days were 8 hours long. That might seem like a long time for a little kid like me, but it worked because there were so many fun things to do and learn. Boys took classes in woodwork and printing. Girls had classes in cooking and sewing. There were even classes for kids with different abilities. No kid was left behind. People came from around the world to learn about this new program. Wirt wanted all kids in Gary to learn this way. I don't know why, but many white people did not want their kids in school with black kids. In 1908, black kids went to school in a separate one-room building. Wirt wanted to start his new program at a new school. So in 1909, the Ralph Waldo Emerson School was open. This was a very special school. Emerson School was the best example of Wirt's plan. The school stood on 10 acres. It had a playground, tennis court, a ball field, running track, and even a handball court. It had 2 acres of gardens, an auditorium, labs for science classes, orchestra and band rooms, art studios, and a pool. It even had a zoo, so kids could learn how to take care of animals. Now that's cool. Kids could even ice skate in the winter. Kids could play every sport. There were 2 gymnasiums, one for boys and one for girls, and a huge swimming pool. And because Emerson was a public school, all of these great things were open to the community. In 1912, Frabel School was opened. This school had even more great stuff. It had 2 gymnasiums and 2 swimming pools. There was art, plants, and flowers everywhere. It even had a branch of the public library inside, so kids could easily get the best books. Some black and white kids went to school together there. Words program even had classes so big people could learn. As early as the 1920s, more and more black people moved to Gary from down south. So more and more black kids needed to go to school. In 1921, classes were held for black kids in portable rooms that would later become Roosevelt School. After white kids protested for 4 days, when black kids enrolled at Emerson High School, separate schools for black and white kids became a way of life in Gary. This was called segregation. Theodore Roosevelt High School was the first school built just for black kids. Its first class graduated in June 1930. Roosevelt's classes, teachers, sports teams, and athletes like Lee Calhoun would help make the school famous. Although they lived in segregation, black people in Gary were proud of their heritage. They wanted great public schools for their kids too. So elementary schools were built and named after famous black people like poet Paul Laurence Dunbar, author Benjamin Banneker, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, and educator Mary McLeod Bethune. There were lots of steel mill jobs in Gary. People had good jobs so they could give money called taxes to support public schools. Tax money made sure that Gary public schools had the best trained teachers, the best classes, the best books, and the best activities in the community. Politicians were happy, the steel mill leaders were happy, many parents and kids were happy too. Schools like Tolston, Beckman, and Horace Mann were built as more and more families with kids moved to Gary. People came to Gary because of steel mill jobs and because of its strong public schools. The Gary School program was known as one of the best in the nation. This way of learning was adopted in places like Michigan, Chicago, and New Jersey. But things began to change. In the 1950s and 60s, more and more non-white families moved to Gary. I don't think it mattered. To me, that's just more kids to play with. But it mattered to some big people, and they didn't get along. William Wirt wanted to give all kids a chance at learning, no matter if they were a boy or girl, black or white, rich or poor, and no matter their age. But some white people didn't like this. So the Gary School plan was famous, but it was not perfect, especially for kids like me. Jobs began to change too. By the 1970s, there weren't as many jobs in the steel mills as in the past. There were 70,000 steel mill jobs in 1979, but less than 6,000 in 1987. When jobs left, businesses left, and families left. Most white people left Gary and moved to nearby cities and towns. There just weren't enough kids to attend the over 30 high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools in Gary. And fewer jobs meant fewer taxes to pay for public schools and to pay teachers. Once there were as many as 30,000 kids in Gary public schools. But that was a long time ago. Now, once new schools aren't new anymore, most of them have been closed. Grass and weeds run wild where kids like me used to run and play. Trees and bushes grow as tall as they like. Buildings are vacant and crumbling. Bricks gave way to cracks and mold. All the art, plants, and flowers are gone. Classrooms, gyms, labs, band rooms, art studios, swimming pools, and libraries stand quiet, empty, and deserted. They seem lonely because kids are not around to use them. Books, folders, papers, lab equipment, and other school supplies were left behind too. No kids are there to read or learn from them. Time and decay have taken over. These schools and the teaching and learning that took place inside them are now only memories for kids, teachers, principals, and parents. Schools where the work-study-play system first started are gone too. Frable School closed its doors for good in 1977. Even Emerson School did not escape. It closed in 2008, 1 year before its 100th birthday. But kids are more than brick and mortar. Kids are more than grass and trees. Kids are more than books, papers, and pencils. We are still 5,000 strong, and we are ready to learn. Time ago, William Wirt called kids natural scientists. He believed that they could learn by reading, talking, through touch, and by doing things. It's still true for kids in Gary today. We love science, reading, art, history, music, and math. And we love to have time to eat, run, and play. We love public speaking, and we love ourselves. Community groups like churches have after-school programs to help us learn more. At the Tillman House, kids do their homework, listen to mentors, and take field trips. Kids have fun learning there, and their grades in school have gotten better. Parents love that. The One Church, One School program matches Gary's schools with church volunteers who want to help. Big People mentor kids in reading, math, and science. They also spend time with kids during lunchtime. These programs connect schools to the community, just like the work-study-play system that was started a long time ago. We're learning what it means to be citizens and what it means to be Americans. We are even learning to become teachers. Programs with local colleges mean that Gary students can graduate from high school with college degrees. Wow, I like that.
'21st was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was able to take college classes in high school, get a whole college degree free of charge. I went to college as a junior. I was only 17 years old. I paid no student loans at all for the 2 years. I came back here and he offered me a job as a teacher. I wasn't sure I was ready for it, but I love my job and I love my students and it's fun.
Some kids attend charter schools in the city. Charter schools get tax money too, but they are really public schools that are privately owned and run. Schools like Thea Bowman and 21st Century give parents other options. There are at least 8 charter schools in Gary. Some of them have separate locations for little kids and big kids.
First, I would just like to say that taking Accuplacer is like the main priority of how you become a college student, so it's important that you take that serious. And then like once you're there, it's like all you need to do is make sure that you don't really need a group of people, but it doesn't hurt to have a study group. So if you have that study group, you'll be fine. And like asking the professors won't hurt, and the online classes too, those are good. So it's just like all of the combinations of everything that you have to do, it comes in handy for the future. So once you graduate, you'll be set.
Mommy says that there are more charter schools than public schools in Gary. There are other private schools and preschools in the city too. Kids just want to go to school in safe places where they can learn, laugh, and have fun. And once kids learn, we can do almost anything. Mommy and Daddy told me that Gary public schools were ahead of their time. But some big people didn't like William Wirt's new plan. They were scared that school leaders weren't ready for this new way of learning. And some big people in Gary believe that school leaders are the cause of the school's problems today. I heard Mommy say that Gary schools are learning to do more with less. There are now 7 public schools for kids from kindergarten to 12th grade. And don't forget the charter schools. Guess what? Schools get grades just like kids. This year, all the kids in grades 3 to 8 in the whole state of Indiana took a new computer test called iLearn. Big people were sad because only 37% of the kids in the state passed the test. Kids in Gary didn't do well either, and black kids in Indiana didn't do as well as white kids. Big people don't know why the test scores were so low, so they've decided to wait before giving schools grades this year. Little kids like me took a test called iRead to see how well we can read. No problem, I'm good at reading. Over half of the kids in Gary passed, and kids at some of the Gary charter schools got scores almost as high as kids across the whole state of Indiana. That's cool. But if little kids like me can read well, why are the test scores for bigger kids so low? I don't know. Daddy says that test scores can help, but they don't tell the whole story. He says that these test scores don't always show that kids are learning. Lots of big people are talking about this. Mommy and Daddy say that schools in places like Gary need more money to pay teachers and give them more training. Schools need more money to buy things like books and computers. Without more tax money, it is hard to make schools better. Even a little kid like me understands that math. Some big people say that kids have to get used to the new test. But some kids who are learning just don't do well on computer tests. Some big people think that teachers and parents could do a better job getting kids ready for these tests. Other big people think that there are better ways to find out what kids are learning besides these tests. And some big people say that better jobs in Gary would mean more money for families, which would help kids do better in school. That's a lot to think about. I think kids are really smart, like William Wirt did a long time ago. Big people today just have to learn how to reach us and teach us. But that is easy to say, and sometimes hard to do. Most kids in Gary go to school every day. Schools give free meals to most kids in Gary so they will have the energy to learn. Kids are graduating from high school and going to college, trade schools, and the military too. Lots of big people are trying to figure out what kids in Gary need to learn, study, pass tests, and become good citizens. That's what William Wirt's Work Study Play program did. What's going to happen next? I don't know. The big people will decide. But I'm going to be an engineer like my daddy. I'm on my way. School will help me get there.